In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show. Not a live stream, but a podcast and a Substack too. We are going from an hola to an olala to what they call, see what I did there? We're going to what they call Portugal's second biggest, largest city. It is Gay Paris, of course. Let's bring her to the screen.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, mon ami. Tudo bem?
C'est magnifique. C'est magnifique ici.
So it sounds
Let
like
me just give you a tour of like just.
I love that. Okay. Oh.
And this is like there's like a mountain and some forest and some lake and whatever the hell they have here. So
Yes.
it's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
You're not in the city centre. I imagine you might be
no
baguette and drinking a coffee and smoking a gulwa. You're out in the countryside. It would
I'm actually like 4 kilometers away from Disney because yesterday we went around Paris as one does, and we went to the top of the Eiffel Tower and such, and then these 3 days are going to be like this huge raving lunatic trip, 3-day trip to the Disney park. So 3 days for the parks. We're 10, so family, we're 10 of us.
Really?
So let's just see how that plays out after the 3 days.
Bon chance, bon sorte with that. So you're plunging into Euro Disney for 3 whole days.
It's an immersion, like they say now. Like they want to say, it's an immersion experience.
Yes.
So and of course I'm coming with the kids, and my feeling is that I'm going to be completely abandoned by the oldest one and husband, and I'm going to be stuck with the little ones, which is fine because I also never want to go to those too radical rides or whatever it is. So I'm quite content to be with Cinderella and all of those quieter things.
So can you explain why sometimes Paris is referred to as Portugal's second largest city?
Well, there's historically have been a huge immigrant community in France, not only because it's the closest, of course, we're not going to mention Spain, of course. Spain doesn't exist. Okay, so the next proper country, okay? Civilized European country, let's say.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to be blocked by Spain right now.
Yeah.
And so 50s, 60s, 70s, there was a huge immigration or migration movement for France and also for Switzerland, actually. So French-speaking countries also, because French culture was very alive here in Portugal. So people kind of knew how to speak French quite easily, much more so than, for instance, English. Yes. And so there was a huge movement of immigration to work in France and Switzerland. The typical thing that they say here in France about the Portuguese is that they were, I don't know how you call it, but like the concierge of the buildings. The people that would maintain the buildings and cleaning ladies, and the men would have like bakeries or butcher shops or whatever it is. So these would be like the traditional businesses here. There was a great movie some years ago, a great Portuguese movie that pictured this very, very in a great manner. So the parents had moved, of course, had been immigrants in France, and then of course the second generation doesn't want anything to do with Portugal and has a completely different culture from their parents, because now they have better living conditions, they have a different culture, and so it was that culture shock between parents and kids. And then of course Portuguese people made a lot of money in France because they worked their asses off. They worked a lot. And they saved a lot of money to buy a house in Portugal in order to have something for their kids. And so traditionally that these people have a lot of money here in Portugal because they didn't spend a dime and invested everything in Portugal.
Ah,
And so then we usually kid in Portugal that the most not posh houses, but like I wouldn't say ugly either, but like the most flashy houses in Portugal
statement,
were always
statement.
from immigrants
Your statement
because
houses,
immigrants.
right? Yes, yes,
Exactly, because it's like this is what I accomplished and this is what I can buy now.
fascinating.
And so there's still a huge Portuguese community here. Of course, the Portuguese when travel always find other Portuguese. So we say there's a
Have you done
Portuguese
that?
in
I was
every
going to
corner
ask
of
you
the
that.
world.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It happens. It happened in Finland. It happened in Iceland. It happened in freaking Lapland. So it's everywhere. Okay, wherever. And I've been to the Maldives. It happened there. So we're kind of everywhere. And so here in France, it's we hear Portuguese being spoken because there's a lot of Portuguese community. So sorry, I was about to freak out because there was a wasp there. If you see me running, it's a wasp.
It's a French wasp.
um,
It'll be very gentle. It won't be like one of those European hornets that we have here in.
yes, yes, it will have manners, right? Here in
No,
France.
a little beret, and smoking a little cigarette and saying, "Bonjour,
Let
I'll be
me
on my
join
way."
you.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
But yeah, so there's a huge community here, and then of course Euro Disney was a big thing in Europe
Yes.
when it was created. It brings a lot of people here. So we're about 5 kilometers away from Disney, and we're just going to go there and stay here. It's a huge house because there's 10 of us. It's a great family holiday, and of course, work doesn't stop. So this morning, Carl, I was completely. I'm sorry, I was completely like I didn't know what time zone it was, and it's just a difference of 1 hour. And I was completely like I was calling you at 6 o'clock in the morning. Oh, are we there yet? No, calm down, Raquel. It's like in 1 hour.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry
Well,
for that.
no, I appreciate you talking to us whilst being on holiday. So
No, that's fine.
won't keep you too long. Just want to ask you a couple of questions. The first of which is, why haven't we got a Disneyland in Portugal? Because I think with all the Americans moving to Portugal, it might make them feel very at home.
Yeah, true. Well, I think the obvious reason is there is one in France. It's 2 hours away. So I don't think Disney would ever make that kind of an investment. And then there's a lot of other parks in Spain as well. So there's like it's either Warner Brothers or whatever. There's like another theme park in Spain.
I didn't
Or
know that.
two of them actually. Yeah, there's two of them. One in Barcelona and one in either Madrid or whatever. There's
Okay, my
a couple of
American
them in Spain.
friends. Yeah, the new American people coming to Portugal will have to make do with the Mac Bifana, won't they? I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think, and to be honest, every Portuguese hates Bifana.
Well, yeah,
Like that's not.
I know I'm going to get myself in trouble with the Portuguese and the Americans saying that. I am only joking. I
Yeah,
think sometimes it's difficult to tell with the British deadpan sense of humor, but we probably won't have a Disneyland, don't worry. And Mac Bifana is seasonal. And I think as soon as McDonald's realized that nobody really wants it except probably tourists, like, oh, look, a Bifana. And I
but
think,
it's a second round. It has been here before.
yeah, it's true. It's true.
So I think they're just like, okay, now there's a lot of new expats coming in. Let's see if they if they
I
want
fell
to
for
try
it.
this
I
out.
did a taste test, but you'll be proud of me. I made my own bifanas at home last night, so I have done.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, all done. And so I feel like the karmic balance has been restored.
Is established. Yeah,
The
exactly.
legal balance has been restored. Right, before you go, just one quickie because
No, that's fine. Look, I'm on vacation, but this is for me. It's a wonderful chat with you. Work is a different thing, but with you, this is a good thing.
I'm going to try to draw you back into work because did you leave to avoid the election or was it just a coincidence?
No, I left Tuesday, so it was after the election.
Right.
It was good to get away because I was obviously traumatized with the result.
Oh,
So it was good, kind of. Okay, now I'm going to Disneyland, and this was all just a dream, and nothing happened, and I was, just a weird dream. But even with all the expectations, I think everybody was thrown off with these results. As much as we knew that that Chega was growing, I don't think anyone predicted the growth and the danger, of course, that it represents to Portuguese. Even I think probably a lot of people that voted Chega just because oh, I want them to be there and to exist there, to be able to say some things. They didn't predict that they would give them this much force. And now I think 80% of them are um, um, repentant. How do you say that
Yeah,
they wish that
regretful. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
regretful that they did that because they didn't. I don't think they had a clue uh, about the numbers that they would obviously get.
Hmm.
And it throws us back again into a complete shit show. Pardon my French. You can bleep this whenever you want to,
Do that.
because uh, so we can't go all left. Right, of course, Montenegro said no is no. So now it's again a puzzle that in kind of every voting has to be worked on and all of that. Of course, the budget is the more fundamental one, but then there's a lot of things, a lot of fundamental legal pieceworks that have to be really, really worked on, negotiated with these parties. And I mean, if PS doesn't somehow allow the AD to work, then it's going to be very difficult to move forward because they can't collegiate with anyone to give them the enough strength to get anything passed.
Yeah.
So at least responsibilities were taken and the leader was stepped down, and I think that's a good thing because of course it wasn't working. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I really wish that they could find a good leader that would somehow reverse the feeling that everybody has now with PS, because we can't forget that that's a party that funded and started democracy here in Portugal. So we can't forget that.
Hmm.
It's a very important party, as is AD or PSD, of course. So these are fundamental democratical parties. And I always think we have a short memory, unfortunately. And Europe is being swept away by right wing forces. I think a lot of it because of the American um, happening that's going American
Phenomenon.
how do I say
Let's
it?
call it a phenomenon.
Kafkanian
Yeah.
show that is going there. Um, and it is a shame because we can't forget that Europe is radically different from the United States. Europe are a conjunction of different countries, of different cultures, whereas the United States it, all of it is just one country. And if Europe starts to be, Europe is already much more divided than the States would ever be, right? Because of the nature of its structure. If we start to be even more divided politically and ideologically and all of that, then I am seriously worried about the new political order, let's say, of the future.
You make some very
Especially,
important points there,
yeah.
especially the idea of what it is to be European, because that's
Uh,
not really. Well, I was going to say it's not really a debate. It's not a purposeful debate. A lot of people are sort of de facto talking about it, aren't they? Because that's what the right say. That's what the right are
mhm.
saying. We're losing our national and European identity. That's part of their campaigning. And there's also, I suppose, the EU and how the centrists might associate with the European Union project as a protection of the European ideal. Are they actually the same thing in a way, but people are fighting for it in a different way?
I think again it's a short memory problem because back in '86 when Portugal joined the EU, and it was financially the country is completely
Shocking.
financially
Yeah.
financially broken. I don't think, well, anyone that was alive then remembers all the roads, all the highways, all the structures that were built back then. That would never in a million years be possible if we hadn't gotten into the European community. The fact that we have now one of the most updated, state of the art structures in terms of technology and ITs and stuff is exactly because we were late with the run. So when we adapted all of that technology, we adapted the latest, the most updated one technology.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think anyone has a proper idea of what we would as a country be if we were not deeply ingrained with the European community. And this is a debate that we had 40 years ago before joining. And then for 20 years, no one ever had a doubt that it was the best thing ever to join the European community. We would be completely lost. Look, we're at the very end of the continent, okay, and we have a freaking Spain desert to go through, okay. So we are not we are in a great position in terms of maritime position because we are a counterpoint, from America and from all the other ports. But it's a terrible position to be in, to then take all the goods inside Europe, because we have roads, we have to go through Spain, and anyone that's in the center of Europe, whether France, Switzerland, Germany, it's so much easier, and they have so much more an idea of Europe as a whole, because they travel for 100 kilometers and they're in a whole different country, but it's close, so they feel the European community vibe. We don't, because we're far off.
That's
Okay.
interesting. Yeah.
But I don't think anyone can lose sight of everything that we gained, everything that we're still gaining, because we're in the European community. Come on, it's facts. And I know that they are very poorly managed. All the millions and millions that we had from the PRR are being very poorly managed, unfortunately. But if things were better managed, we would have a lot of money. And there are still good things being done with European money. And so we cannot forget our size, our position within all of the ecosystem, all of the European ecosystem. I mean, it would never occur to us, Portugal, to exit like no, we would never. It would never occur to her to do a Brexit.
Do you know, I have spoken
Portugal,
to some people though in Portugal who are up for a Pexit. I don't know if
but
that's
they're crazy. I mean, they cannot be on their sane mind. They
right.
cannot be.
Yeah.
I would, I always say I wish I was tall, lean, and rich, but that's not happening, right? So those are dreams, and those are utopian dreams. If people came down to the truthful and the facts of it, they would never in a million years wish that for Portugal. It would be our complete ruin, as it was before the 1960s and 50s. That's where we were, completely cut off from the rest of Europe, from the rest of the world. And 80% of the population was an alphabet. They couldn't write, they couldn't read. Is that what we want?
Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting talking to you. Always great to talk to Portuguese people about these issues that us foreigners think we know something about, and then to get that depth and context and background from you is fantastic this morning.
I mean, this is just me.
No, I understand that. No, fair enough. Yeah, and we had a very interesting conversation with Vitor Costa on Monday. We no doubt have a mention from Nuno of the impact of the election on the insurance
Yeah.
industry and how society will be impacted. That's my last question to you this morning: is how will it be for business? Because you've highlighted something there about efficiency, because it's one thing, isn't it, to be well funded and to have infrastructure, but if things aren't well managed, we come back to, and I hesitate to use this phrase, but we come back to the Portuguese deep state, if you like, the thing that isn't managing things very well, which is what we come up against when we're running businesses here in Portugal. So that's the question: how will the election impact business and business people in Portugal, and people foreigners wanting to start businesses. Is that an election related issue, or is that something a little bit deeper that needs a more of a structural change?
I think it's a lot deeper than that. I was hoping that the result would be a completely different one and would be a much more compelling one for the business industry, whatever business, because I was hoping that the liberals would have a more space, and in conjunction with the AD, it would give us a bit of let's say a more capitalistic, I know this is a hated word, but a more economical preoccupied government than the PS is, because of course it's a deeply socialist party with other types of worries. And I wouldn't mind to have an economical push in the country with more of a liberal mind, in the sense that, look, if the private people can manage better, like, and the hospitals are a good example. I had my 2 babies in Cascais Hospital when it was managed by a partner, a private partnership, and they were great. They were in the top of the hospitals of the country and even in Europe. And once that those privates got out of there, and then it was publicly managed again, it went to shit, blink. So I do think that there are some things that should be managed as a company, and you have to have results, because this is money that is from all of us, so it has to be well managed. It's not, we can't have people that are like the sloths, in that meme that takes like 30 minutes to get, that meme, right? We can't have that. We can't have that.
Here, I know what that's like.
Carl, I don't know if you've seen this story, and sorry, I'm not trying to push this anymore, but I just posted a story this week because it doesn't really matter, but I was asking like a sports institute for certification of someone, and I wrote their name, and the answer back was, your request is rejected because you only put 2 names of the person, and this person has 3 names. Mind you, the form did not ask for the complete name, it just asked for the name, and they requested the passport, so they have the passport to check the name. And I did a meditation session, and I answered. I submitted the request again. I copied the full name and pasted the full name in the form, and I thought, okay, now I've been a good girl. Now they will grant me the authorization. The email came back saying, your request is rejected because you wrote all 3 names in capital letters.
Oh my!
And only the first letter in each name can be a capital letter. And I was like, oh, they're kidding me, right? Like, where's the camera? This is so when you and again, 3 meditation sessions later and a few anti-anxiety medications later, I submitted the request again, and then it was approved. But how does someone over there have the time to be joking around with this, and not work? So this can't happen.
No,
this cannot happen.
Fingers crossed for a political force that will address that for sure. I've had 6 visits to Eurobic, called a banker now, aren't they? To adjust my online banking. I have to go into the bank to deal with online banking. 5 or 6 visits later, we're still not there. This is to help me get into my own account, just in case I'm a money laundering terrorist, right? I think I've proved that I'm not.
Which, of course,
if I was a money laundering terrorist, I've found a much better way to do it than that. But anyway, Raquel, have a lovely time.
Thank you, Carl, and give my love to Nuno as well. Okay.
Okay. All right. All the best. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye bye.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show